The question is, if we rewinded 10 years, what would have been our top 3 things we were looking for in a person?
Yeah, at that time, I think my mum was more worried about me looking for a partner than I was. No, I'm joking. She wasn't like pushing me or anything, but
Your mum forced you to marry me.
yeah, basically.
It comes out now.
I don't know. I was like in a big transitional phase of my life when I started getting to know you, or when I met you at least.
Oh, that's a long time ago.
Well, we're talking when we
14
first
years ago.
started dating.
10 years ago is when we first started dating.
Right. So at that point, I don't think I knew. I think I was just at the point in my life where I was like, oh, I knew I wanted someone that I could grow spiritually with. I think that was probably top of my list at the time because of the phase I was in. I was, in deep at that time of really trying to explore that phase of my life, that part of my life. And so that was probably number one for me, was someone that I know has spirit and that wants to explore that part of their life too. That's what I wanted.
Same, that was my number one too.
I didn't really have any at that time had any financial goals or anything. That wasn't something I thought about very often. And then apart from that, I'm trying to think, and just laughing. I knew that I wanted someone that I could laugh with and crack jokes with, and just, yeah, I think laughing was really important to me. And I don't think I hadn't spent time to think about that at the time, so that's about all I can think of.
Yeah, I don't think I ever had a list either. I don't think I was ever that kind of a person. And that's why I'm not a big list person now. I think lists can often minimize who you meet because you have such a criteria.
That's true.
And then you're finding this person who has all of this perfect criteria, but someone can be perfect on paper and still not be the right person. And I think you see this, I'm giving a sports analogy here, but bear with me. It's the idea that sometimes a team on paper can be the perfect team. They have all the best players in the world, but they don't perform on the pitch or on the field. And I feel like that's what relationships end up like, where you have this person who ticks all your criteria, but then they're not that in real life. You don't feel that with them.
Right.
And so I think relationships are more about discovering someone. I couldn't have known what you would be like in 10 years. You just can't know that.
No, you really can't.
You just can't know what someone's going to be like in 10 years. And so all I could do is be curious and open and learn. You are so many more things than I ever thought you were or would be or could be or anything. But you either have to figure it out as you go and go, oh, I like that, or I don't like that. And let that be what leads you, rather than be like, okay, I think I know who this person is. But then what if they change? What if those 3 things you wanted became completely different? I did want someone who was spiritually grounded. You are still spiritually grounded, and that is a massive pursuit in you. I wonder what I would feel like if you weren't spiritual anymore. I don't know. I don't even know how I feel about that, because that would be something you'd have to be open to if it came to that.
Right.
And so I think criteria are interesting, but I think it's more about exploring and discovering a human being.
Mm-hmm. That's true, actually. So many people have lists of, so many of my friends who are looking for a partner will have all these lists of what they want, and every category they'll have something that they want in it. And sometimes it's I met this person and they make me laugh, and they really give that feeling that they've been looking for, but then they don't meet the criteria, and it kind of completely throws them off, and they don't even know whether to go on a second date with them. And it kind of feels like a missed opportunity, because it's so, a lot of the time it should be so much more about emotion and how someone makes you feel versus whether they fit that perfect that you've created.
Yeah, some people he has to be 6'2".
Yeah, oh my gosh, so many people.
And I'm how
my friends has to be tall, dark, and handsome. That's
and I get being attracted
needs to have
tattoos.
Partner.
And I get being attracted to your partner.
Yes,
definitely. I'm not saying don't be attracted. Obviously, right? Just putting that out there. But you can't make that the criteria of it all.
Not if you're already getting along with, if you get along with someone and you've got that, connection, to then go back to your list and be tick, tick, cross.
Because they're 6'2" is not going to keep that relationship going.
No,
that's the point. Whether they're 6 foot, that's not going to make sure.
We're all going to shrink, That's what happens with old age, so.
So they marry someone 6'4".
Exactly.
Then,
exactly.
So the question is, how do we show up for our partner even when our partner has so many other priorities, has a purpose, has things that keep them busy? How do we still show up for each other when we're busy and they're busy and have so much going on? Yeah, I think this was actually our weakness, because being busy in our life came about on us so quickly. you know, I always say this to people, like, I didn't plan for this life. We didn't plan for this life. Things transformed and moved very quickly and changed very quickly. And it took off quickly even for us. And we almost had to play catch up with it. And so I never thought when we got married that we'd ever spend any time apart.
Right.
And all of a sudden, months in our relationship before the pandemic, in the first 2 years of our marriage, we spent like 8 months apart. And then it was the pandemic and we spent every day together and I loved it. I'd have to say it was 2 of my favorite years of spending time with you.
Yeah, it was so fun.
I love spending time with you for those 2 years. And then when the pandemic was over again, our lives again have been like, we spent like nearly 6 months apart last year. This month, at the start of this year, we've already spent a month apart, obviously different reasons. And last year again was a surprise. It wasn't part of the plan.
Yeah.
It was challenges beyond us that we couldn't control that were keeping us apart. Visa issues, things like that are like complex and, you know, things that we have to deal with when you are from different countries and live in different countries. And that was like the first time where I realized that I didn't have good tools for that kind of distance. And actually, because I just thought that it didn't matter, you just stay the same and things would be fine. And so I think I've actually learned the hard way sometimes where I haven't been as well informed or didn't think I had all the tools or had it all figured out. And I've realized the importance of checking in every day, which I never really used to think that was a thing. I never thought you had to check in every day. And I know that sounds stupid to a lot of people, but...
No, I think it's also because we're both very
safe
independent.
And secure. Yeah, we're very independent as well. And we're safe and secure and we trust each other. And then I realized checking in every day was so important when we were traveling or not in the same place. That was a big one. I'd say that the other one was for every day you spend apart, you need to have a quality day together. I really believe that. Like, I felt like last year when we didn't see each other for 6 months, I felt like I spent the next 6 months only thinking about a relationship.
Right.
Because it had to be the priority. You can't just expect a plant or a tree to grow in your house when you don't water it and you don't take care of it. And so if you've not seen it for 6 months because you've been traveling, you don't just get to come back to it. You don't just get to come back to it and go, oh great, like I'm back now, like start blooming. Like it doesn't work that way. Like it takes so much of that effort. And I think I didn't fully digest that. And last year was that year where I was like, all right, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take 6 months of recreating, refocusing, reprioritizing. That's what I did last year. That's how I felt, that I focused on that at the end of last year. And that's how I feel now as well. Like, you know, you've been here because of family challenges and things like that with your grandma who's not been well, and who obviously we know is your favorite person in the world. And it's like, you've obviously wanted to be with her. And again, we haven't seen each other for a month because you've had to be with her in hospital. And so there's so many things that come up in our lives that are always going to be there. So we can't live in this perfect world of like, oh, never go 2 days without each other. Never. Life doesn't work that way. Like life is, you can't make fake rules. But the rule I have made is that when we are reconnecting, you have to go deeper in less time to rebuild the relationship when you are busy. And you have to spend quality time. One of the things I loved that we did was, and I want to get back to it as soon as we're in a flow of being together again, it's like the idea of every 30 days, we used to take 3 days, we'd disappear 3 hours away from LA, we'd lock our phones away in the room and we'd just bike together, walk together and be together. And to me, when you all have a busy month, having 3 days a month where you go so deep with each other is so needed, because you are busy every month and not everyone has time every day or the energy every day to like sit down with their partner and check in and make it amazing. You can't, but you can once a month. And I think you have to have a monthly check-in. Even when we do these annual check-ins, I think these are really important. Like, yes, we record it and it goes out as a podcast, but I think every couple should have an annual check-in and answer these questions that we're answering. Otherwise, like years go by and then a decade later, you're thinking about your relationship. And so I think reflecting is such a powerful tool. And recording is actually a powerful tool. And I think if we were to reflect and record more often every month and every year with our partners, your relationship will go in the right direction, as opposed to your relationship going off in a wrong direction. And then you're trying to save it years later.
That makes sense. I think check-ins, I think I didn't think that either. I was like, oh, we're on 2 different time zones. It's so hard to we'll just figure it out when we see each other, and we'll talk when we see each other. We'll catch up with each other when we see each other. But I think daily check-ins is a really important part of it. Message or call, like whatever is feasible in easy to do.
I think being really honest about what you need as well. Like I feel
Yeah,
like
that's true. That's
I feel
true.
like just catching the person. Like you know that even if I've had a busy day, if you said to me, "I really need to talk to you tonight," or "Let's chat,"
Totally.
you know I'd be there.
Yeah.
Even if I've had a really busy day and I'm exhausted or whatever it may be. But if you don't know, sometimes you assume your partner just knows how you're feeling, and I think that's always where things go wrong. Where it's like, well, why haven't you checked in with me for a month?
Yeah.
And that mentality really ruins relationships.
Totally.
Rather than just saying, let's agree to have a check-in every month, see how we're doing, see what you need help with. One thing I recommended in the book was 4 questions. So once every day is, what have you done for yourself today? Once every week is, what have you got coming up this week and what support do you need? Every quarter is this relationship going in the direction you want and how can we get it in there? And the 4th question every year is, what are your goals and how can I help you? I ask you a lot of those questions all the time. And so I just broke it down into that formula because I really wanted people to have like really clear things that they could do.
Yeah.